Actually, what,
Nah,
what what you can do is just tell me in secret, and I'll be like, okay, guys, I know. I'll talk to you in a week.
I
Then,
mean, telling you in secret is like just delaying telling it for 30 seconds. Like you're just gonna go to the chat. This is exactly what Moongod said.
this is
Not
yeah,
that I'm upset about that or anything. It's just, you
yeah,
get excited and then you're like,
yeah.
I gotta tell people. So it's
The,
like this is why I don't tell you. This is why I don't tell you the numbers ahead of time a lot of times.
yeah, no, it's smart. You learned. See, you learned, Moon
Well,
God.
yeah. It just, little bit of an issue every once in a while where it's like disseminate some information to Oliver and accidentally he just releases it. He's like Tom Holland. I mean, that's what I've learned.
Yep, I understand that one because he released the name of Endgame, I think, or something like that beforehand.
Yeah. He's like, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, everybody dies. I died," and he's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding. No,
Uh,
nobody died. Everything is
that's really kind of hypocritical because wasn't what's his face let go for accidentally spilling the name of the third movie? The guy that plays Hulk.
who?
The
Mark
guy.
Ruffalo? No, Mark
Yeah.
Ruffalo's been in all of.
Oh, I thought I had heard that he was fired for accidentally leaking
Nah,
something. No.
nah. That was over exaggerated, probably.
Yeah.
But no, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't been fired. They just don't let him do the stuff anymore. Both him and Tom Holland aren't allowed to like do press conferences or.
Yeah. I would actually like if I was an actor, I would like to be like deemed as incapable of doing press conferences. That'd be pretty great. I'd happily just
Yep.
do my thing,
All right.
collect my check.
I think we can click the record button and jump into it. Anybody who's late can join in late, but I don't want to keep these fine people waiting around for hours on end because you know me, I'll talk for the next 3 hours.
That's true. I was actually trying to banter a little bit because last time there was zero banter and we just jumped right into it. So I was experimenting with banter before we start talking about the numbers. But honestly, can I just say I hate it when there's like an hour of banter before they actually say anything of substance. So we're not going to do that. All right.
Yes, yeah. So that I mean that would be something I agree with. Like I mean, if you want to record a little bit of the pregame banter, so to speak, I'm all for it. But once we get going at the 450 mark here, we're gonna just jump right into it and just roll because
Yep.
you know I don't want to make the people wait. Super
Yep.
frustrating when there's like an hour-long AMA and all the information's at minute 55.
Oh yeah.
At least that's my opinion.
That's
I hate
bullcrap.
that.
That's straight up bullcrap for sure. All right, hold on a sec. Let
Well,
me
that's what I
take.
try.
Okay, got my earmuffs back on, whatever they're called. Um, all right. Well, we've got 13 people. We've given everybody 5 minutes to get here, so I think everybody that's going to be here is here. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you Yanni, Mystic Dragon, Captain Crunch, Tiki, Gunther, Timber, Naraf, Miss Love is here. Oh wow, I haven't seen you in a while. Um, Bob is here. Davey, Atomic Punk, Bad something added. I don't know. Lord Vader. Hello everybody. Thank you for being here. So, without further ado, Moon God, what would you like to say first?
Well, first and foremost, Happy New Year's, everybody.
Yep.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever other stuff people might celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to have everybody here.
Yep.
Took a little break from last week. Got some numbers for you this week. Got some updated information about the DAP, which really excited to kind of go over. But just to kind of jump right into it right away, we've closed out a few more positions, both on the short side, and we are up an additional $465. So roughly that comes out to a total return on this specific trade to 14.5%.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We went from 11.65, 11.7 up to 14.5.
Nice.
So continuing to do well. Really, really exciting. continuing to kind of, leverage out of these positions and kind of, get ourselves further out of this. One of the questions that has kind of been asked in regards to this as well too is like, how are we kind of, basing this number? Effectively, since it's all technically under like one trade, right now I'm just kind of considering it like, total profit and loss kind of thing. So, we could have a week or a 2-week period where, like next week we close out some positions and take like $100 loss or something like that. So that percentage might change a little bit as time kind of goes on, but that's the way we're kind of looking at it here. So you guys will see that updated in our Discord bot. We've got Callie, who's going to be working with the One Team to get the Discord bot information set up in the One Team Discord as well.
Cool.
The One Token Discord. And as for the DApp, I have some great news. We are doing some of the final internal testing on it. Just making sure that some of the graphs and some of the visuals load and stuff like that. Making sure that there's no problem with the setup there, and we should have it out hopefully pretty soon here. So just doing some final testing on that side, so everybody can kind of see how the bot's doing and track it and everything. So
awesome.
Really kind of coming along. New year, a lot of stuff coming out at the beginning of the year. A lot of new information as well too, regarding movements within the market and stuff like that. So yeah, we've been able to kind of take advantage of a couple of things, and like I said, we've moved the profit up from 11.7% all the way up to 14.5%. So big win this week.
Cool.
Or well, over the last 2 weeks, I guess, if that's how you want to look at it. So
yeah,
doing good.
Very good, very good. And you guys are still closing out the short little by little with the
correct. Yeah, we're still closing out some of the shorts and longs in kind of roughly at about the same time. So the volatility that we've had in the market has actually been extremely helpful when it kind of is kind of dipping and tanking back down. We're able to offload a couple of shorts in I guess what you would consider like a less bad position. And we're able to, on the higher side, we're able to offload some of the longs. And then we just kind of are doing a little dollar cost average on both sides to kind of bring those a little bit closer to parity there. So it's getting closer and closer every day for us to fully be out of this position. We're really excited for that to kind of happen. Still going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of process to kind of get through that. But all in all, it's not looking too bad for us. Like I said, we were able to do roughly, it comes out to a little over like 2.8% is I think what we did, if my math is correct. So yeah.
Is that over the past 2 weeks or the past week?
That's over the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, the total was 14.5% for this entire trade, where we've started to kind of hedge and then take some profits and everything like that.
Right.
Move out of some of the short positions. It's roughly about, give or take, it's about $2,465. It's kind of a couple of pennies here and there. It's going to be different, but that's roughly about where we're at. I think it's like $2,465 and like 13 cents or something like that, or whatever. So it's like, you can't really count that, and that's on both sides. So that's the NFT bot as well as the Ray bot. So yep, both doing really well.
All right, fantastic. Well, I know there was one question. How's the adding of the funds progressing to the bots? I know the Ray bot has all of the funds in there, but the NFT bot.
Yeah. So since the bot isn't effectively opening new positions in terms of like trading, the best way to kind of look at it is we're still in the same position that we were in before. We're still slowly moving out of this hedged position, but we're not, doing some crazy, kind of off trades or something like that. The bot is still in this trade, so we still have the additional funds that are kind of sitting on the side. So the best way to kind of look at this is we're still basing everything off of the 17,000 that was in there prior. Eventually we'll be adding, once we're out of this, the rest of the bot to effectively the total trading amount. But one way that I kind of explain this in the Prisma Discord so people kind of have a better understanding, we're never really at any point in time going to be trading 100% of the funds.
Right.
So as an example of such, we may be at a point in time where we're trading like anywhere from like 1 to 10% of the total amount of the funds. In this case, it got as high as 30%, but we're not trading all 100% of the funds. That's a very quick way to lose all of your money. So yeah, that's kind of the way to look at it, is that most trades are going to take place within about that 1% to 10% range. And due to having leverage and things like that set up, that allows us to effectively trade at a higher amount. So even if we were trading at, say, $1,000, it would be a case with even like 10x leverage or something. They'd be like trading at 10,000. So it's a case where we're not taking these huge crazy risks and things like that, where we're saying, cool, we're gonna throw in all 80,000 with 100x leverage or 1,000x leverage, and we're just gonna YOLO this in the next week. That's not the case. That'll never happen. That very much so would be a very fast way for us to, fully have everything liquidated, and we just, that's not the intelligent way of doing this. So we have kind of those risk factors in place, and we have those things set up to ensure that we don't run into, a negative situation. So generally, on average, the bot trades roughly about 1 to 10%. And there are a couple of instances like this one where it's trading a bit more than that at this point, just because we've opened up those hedged positions.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of the best way to look at it. Once this is basically fully closed out or back within its standard trading range, it'll effectively be trading at that 1 to 10% range of the full 80,000 that's in there. So that's kind of the way to look at it. And at that point in time, we'll kind of reset the numbers to kind of compensate for that. But that's pretty much the easiest way to kind of look at it, is we're never trading 100% of the funds. That would just, it's a bad idea.
And you guys are routinely using 100x leverage, right? Is that what I've heard?
It depends. In some situations we are, yeah. So like we can open up anywhere from no leverage to up to 100x.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yep.
I gotcha.
Sorry for not having a longer explanation. I mean, that's about as simple as that one can be. It just kind of depends on, how much funds are being used. So as an example of such, you can trade $1,000 at 100x leverage, or you can trade like $100 at 100x leverage, or you can do $1,000 at 10x. It just kind of depends on, the way the market is kind of moving and the positions that we happen to kind of be in, and how much range and how much risk we're willing to have at a given point in time. And we can kind of always adjust those if we need to. But the highest we'll ever trade out is 100x.
Okay. And how often would you say you guys are using 100x? Because I was under the impression that you guys were using it a lot, but I don't know. I don't know what I was basing that off of.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much standard practice for us to kind of determine how much risk we're willing to have at a given point in time in the market. So whenever we kind of are expecting a lot more volatility and something to kind of move up and down, we generally, kind of move that leverage amount up a little bit more, because then we can trade with a smaller amount of funds and make more back. So when Ethereum was kind of like really kind of going up and down in that 1800 to like 1950 range, it was a case where, you could place a $500 100x leverage trade, and, that would be something where it would pay off a lot more than just us throwing, $2,000 at it with no leverage. So it kind of just depends volatility-wise. The bot kind of determines what it wants to do based on historical volatility. So yeah, we kind of let it do its thing there. The trade that it's in right now, I do believe, is in 100x leverage. So yeah,
Okay.
kind of the easiest way to look at it is this one happened during that volatile moment, but we were trading such a small amount of funds, it could just dollar cost average its way up the way that it did. I mean, again, to keep in mind, we didn't start opening up a hedged position until it moved up roughly about $400 from where it originally started this trade.
Right.
Started the trade at roughly about 1620, 1630, and was in a short position at that point in time. And we didn't open up our first long position until 2000. So
Right.
it really moved a long way, and that lets you know just like how much room we had, where it just wasn't using a ridiculous amount of funds. So like an example of such, we had it set up, I believe, where it was like every $25 of the dollar cost average. So it was a case where it was kind of picking up those positions as time went on. And I can come back and provide a little more clarity when I ask Callie, but it was a case where every other bot that was out there got liquidated. Ours, because we weren't using that much funds, it basically was able to kind of follow it all the way up. And right now, because of the way that we set up the hedge position, in case something were to go wrong, we looked at the market and we said, okay, the likelihood of this pulling back at this point in time, with all the other markers that we have in place, very unlikely to happen. So we opened up that hedge position, and with that being said, we opened it up right at about the $2,000 range. So it's bumped all the way up to about 2,400 at one point in time here. So we're really in a position where just kind of playing smart and almost playing both sides of the ball kind of helps us out a little bit as well. So
Yeah.
even with higher leverage, we're not using a crazy amount of funds.
Okay.
And we're not going all in on one specific.
All right. I see Mystic Dragon has a question here. He says, not sure if this question has ever been asked before. Are these leveraged trades isolated or cross? Let me know if I'm not making sense.
Not sure what he's asking there. The only thing that I can think of in terms of like isolated would be like, is this one specific trade with nothing going the other direction? I'm not sure, because in crypto, people have a tendency to use different terminology than we do in traditional finance. So could you clarify?
I have a question for you, Moongod. Is the bot trading on its own, or are you guys just operating, just doing manual trades right now?
So we're kind of doing a hybrid of both,
Okay.
where we're looking to see where the bot is looking to kind of try and either dollar cost average or do some take profits, and kind of slightly adjusting them to ensure that we don't hit resistance or support levels. So that's one of the biggest things that we're just kind of doing here, is we're tweaking them ever so slightly, but the bot is basically coming back and saying, hey, at this dollar cost average level of say 2,400, we're going to pick up a short. We're also going to offload a long. When it gets back down to 2,180, we're offloading a short and picking up a long, that kind of thing. So it basically is coming through and saying, hey, this is where we should do this at this point in time. And then we're saying, okay, well, 2,400 is showing a resistance level at 2,405, so we want to make sure that we're setting it at exactly 2,400, so we don't run into a case where we don't get in on that specific trade. Whereas the bot might say, okay, well, we think it should be 2,410. We're just rolling it back a little bit the other direction. I guess that's kind of the best way to look at it, is the bot is basically still kind of coming through, doing its thing the way it normally would, and we're just kind of tweaking a couple of those just a little bit, since it can't look at those support and resistance levels, to ensure that we're getting in and getting out of trades where we want.
Okay. Is there gonna be a point when you guys are doing that less? Like, are you guys getting closer to like the bot being calibrated like as completely as it can be, or is that just going to be an ongoing thing?
So, interesting fun fact, we've actually been testing a lot in AI. It's one of the things that Callie's been kind of doing on the side here, where we have kind of, been managing this in like a hybrid way. And we've had some very successful results and some very hilarious results. Um, on the successful side, it's been able to kind of determine support and resistance levels based on the information provided from Bybit. One of the hilarious instances where it just was like, I don't want to lose, it just refused to trade anymore. Like, the
That's
AI
funny.
was like, cool, so I'm in a short and the position is going up, or I'm in a long and the position's going down. I'm in a losing position now. I'm just not trading. And it was just
Just
like,
takes
I
its
don't want to
ball
do
and
it
goes
anymore.
home. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
funny.
so it literally just was like, okay, I'm just in this position. I'm not doing
I,
anything.
I
And
didn't
it just
know.
sat there for like 3 years in our back testing and just didn't do anything. It got into a negative trade like 3 months in, and it was just like, okay, I'm done, you know.
that's
And then
that's
got out of the position, never, opened up a hedge position or anything like that. Never
wow.
did anything to work its way out of the position. It was just like, all right, that's it. I'm done.
I mean,
Going home,
goodness.
taking the ball with me.
Yeah, I didn't realize AI was so temperamental. Goodness. Well,
I mean, it's one of those things where it's got to kind of learn, and just like a kid, it's got to learn as well too. And that's kind of one of those things where children can be a little temperamental when they don't know everything or how to express themselves. And this AI is kind of like a little child in learning here. So yeah, that was one of the ones that we found kind of humorous in terms of the way it kind of panned out. Some of the other ones we've had a lot of success where it's been able to kind of eke out some of the some of the wins. And it's actually done better in some situations than what we were expecting, because it ended up taking profit a little bit less than what it normally would have before. But that allowed it to turn around and get into a different position right away. So, like an example of such is here, we basically were running the bot on an algorithm that allowed us to kind of, determine some, take profits based on dollar cost averaging and everything like that without implementation of any kind of AI. So it basically just said, cool, the take profit point is roughly at this area here. And that caused us to miss that one trade, to be able to get out of the short by, I believe, was $3. Well, the AI that we've been testing has been able to go through and say, cool, we understand it's $3 up. That means instead of it being like, a 12 or 13% return, it might be 7%, but it allowed it to get into a trade going the other direction and
wow.
benefit from that. So
Wow, that's
it's
cool.
something that's really kind of been a lot of fun for us to test on this side, for us to really be able to expand, what we're doing so far. And that means that, when we kind of get into these positions, we should be able to kind of narrow down and get into these, much better positions for both, getting in and getting out. So we're really excited for that. Because again, if we can kind of get to the point where we're not having to micromanage everything, it allows us to do other stuff. But yeah, very exciting things. A lot of testing to be done still. But eventually that'll be in place, and that'll basically mean that for the most part we just kind of have to keep our eye on it and make sure it doesn't turn into some crazy kind of Skynet and take over the whole world, start making Terminators or anything like that.
Well, I mean, it would need to know where to get the materials, right? Because
I mean, listen, this thing, like I said, it got into a bad trade one time, and it was just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I said, I'm going home and I'm taking my ball with me. And it just stopped trading. It just refused to trade, and there was nothing we could get it to do in that instance to get to start trading again. It was just like, no, I don't want to.
so what you're telling me
And
is iRobot was a little optimistic.
well, it was it got into a bad position and it just didn't like it and was like, I'm done. And just, that was it.
How are
It
you
just,
talking and
that was
typing
like,
right
that
now?
happened like 3 months into like 3 years of, back testing or whatever it was. And it
Yeah.
just, for the next 2 years and 9 months, just didn't do anything. Just didn't place a trade, didn't open up a hedge position, didn't
Well,
do anything, just like absolutely refused to do anything with the position. It just
I mean,
sat there for 3 years.
time is relative. Did you tell it that it had like a timeline that it needed to get this done in? Because maybe it thought it had like 1,000 years. So.
No, it just ended up being a situation where historically it just never got back down to that same level that it was at before, and it just never did anything. It was just one of those funny things where it was like that was such an outlier, where it's like I bring it up because again it's humorous to us as we're developing this stuff, but like I think we've done, a couple hundred or, a 1,000 plus tests on this so far, and that was one of them where
Right.
it did that. So it's like, it doesn't happen very often, but it's just when stuff like that does happen, it's just humorous for us as we're building this.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So we got a couple questions coming in the comments. Mystic Dragon is saying, because he's kind of elaborating on his question, he said, isolated as in the trade is restricted to only the funds the bot chooses to add to the trade to prevent liquidation. Cross as in the whole balance is utilized to prevent liquidation of a particular trade.
Yeah, so we kind of use more of a cross situation here. Now we can add additional funds into the bot to continue opening positions, or like what we've done in the past, we open up a hedge position, which means that at that point in time we move from a cross to an isolated. So it's kind of flexible depending on what happens at a given point in time. But yeah, one of the things that we kind of were doing, which allowed us to, stay our hand with fully going into this hedge position, was the fact that like BNB was still going up, and we still had, BNB within the account, so it basically was offsetting itself.
Right.
Eventually we just moved into the hedge position because it just makes it easier for us to begin to, offload the shorts while having those longs in place as well. And it just makes the process a lot easier for us to go through. So yeah, that's basically what it kind of came down to, is that, we originally were just kind of sitting there and allowing the funds in BNB to kind of, be that hedge against the price going up while it was still dollar cost averaging. Once we determined that we didn't want to, kind of sit and let this kind of go any longer, and we wanted to move in the hedge position, we basically just opened up that, and that works as the offset to the short. So yeah, basically it was just a case where we kind of were using both, throughout the trade here.
And I'm sure there are some people wondering, did you guys, how much did you guys take advantage of BNB pumping?
I checked with Callie to see like where we're at. I believe we started to move some out of BNB into Bitcoin instead.
Okay.
So I don't know how much of that has been transitioned.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for a response from him. He's been busy with work and playing with the AI on the back end and doing some updates on the bot, that we're going to implement as soon as we're out of this trade. So it really hasn't been something where he's, had some free time away from the dungeon that I keep him in to be able to answer that question. So yeah,
All right.
I'll get back to you guys with that one. I believe we're pretty much out of the BNB position for a good chunk of it. And most of it's in Bitcoin, or, I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. I believe we moved a good chunk of it into Bitcoin.
Cool. Timber Sky is asking, approximately how many trades does the bot do per day?
Depends. I don't really have like a good answer for that one. It could be in one trade. It could do multiple trades. I think the most it's ever done in one day was like 12 or something like that.
Was that the old
Where it
settings though?
just, yeah.
Yeah.
This one, I think the most it's ever done in one day was like 5 or 6.
Cool. And
So
will the
like
and the
V1 of the bot did 12 in one day. I think V2 did like 6 in one day, where it just kind of like opened up trades back to back that got filled and then closed. Nothing wrong with that. It just, it's just a case where it just filled and closed and filled and closed and filled and closed. I think that was the week where it did roughly like 7% or something like that within a very short period of time, like 2 days or something. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the
Okay.
volatility of the market.
Cool. So let me see. Do you the 14% that 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 you guys have made so far, would that be pretty much just from December, because we're only 2 days into January right now? Like the vast majority of that was just from December, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So
All
like
right.
the best way to look at this is that 14.5% has been ever since we opened up the hedge position and started moving out of what we were doing.
Gotcha.
So I believe the trade opened up late October or early November. I'd have to double check my time frame on that. So the best way to kind of consider it at this point is it's done 14.5% since opening this original position here, because it's all still part of that one trade. So if memory serves, I believe that's about 2 months worth, which means that roughly we've done a little over 7.25% over those 2 months is the best
Right.
way to kind of look at
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Which still falls roughly right into what we were looking for anyway, between like that 8 to 12%. It's really close to that. Again, we're still moving out of the rest of the position. If we end up moving out fully and, being able to take profit, I believe it got all the way up to as high as something like 26% or something crazy like that. So it would be a case
Yeah.
where if we manage to do that early January here, and I've got to get some of those numbers again from Callie in just a little bit. He didn't have them all pulled together this morning when we were kind of going over stuff. He's still kind of hashing some things out and seeing what we got to do. But it's a case where, if we manage to get out of that early January, we can get into a new trade and, or new sets of trades. And it would be a case where, we can end up hopefully, doing pretty well going forward as, as part of this also, and just kind of leading this into, the trades in January. So it'll all kind of just tie itself together. But the best way to
Cool.
kind of look at it is so far we're doing 7.25. November 7.25, December, and
Yeah.
then January we'll kind of see where we're at the end of the January. If we're still in the same trade, we'll kind of see what profit we've taken at that point in time. But I believe we should be out of this hopefully within the next few weeks here at the most. And hopefully it'll be a case where we can continue to kind of, roll through January. But I have a feeling we're going to see a little bit of a pop up here within the next few days and just kind of go from there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the best way to kind of look at it. For November, effectively, we're like 7.25, December 7.25, and now we're in January.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Let me mark that down. I'm taking notes so I can make some bullet points for people who don't listen to the recording or whatever. So 7.25% last 2 months. All right. All right. And so let me see. Let me run down the list real quick just to run it all by you for people who got here late. So He's saying that the bot made on average 7.25% the last 2 months. There was a whole month that we were kind of stuck in that short trade. So we're just we're dividing what the bot made this last month, which was 14.5% by the last 2 months. The DAP is nearing completion, and that will show all the trades that the bot is doing like a couple days afterward.
Correct.
Okay. So it'll be like a 2-day delay
Yep.
on that, but you'll be able to see all the trades the bot is doing.
Correct. Yeah, we're working on that API integration right now to make sure that it's running on that little bit of a delay. We also, just to kind of give a few more details, I believe the starting charts that we're going to have is current month, last month, and then year to date, I believe is what we're starting with. And then maybe last year, I think, is the other one. We're starting off with like 4 different charts that you guys can look at. So
awesome.
thumbs
Very
up.
cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, very nice.
So I'm mistaken. We decided that we weren't going to have last year because we don't have a last year yet.
Okay.
So that's the reason why. So yeah, it'll be something where I believe we're going to have either like 3 or 4. But
so what were those again?
When we put it out there. Sorry, go ahead.
List them off for me again. The charts you're going to have on the DAP.
Yeah, and again, don't hold me to it because we're still, making a couple of adjustments here. But I believe it's going to be last month, month to date, year to date, and then last year. We're still debating the last year one though.
Okay.
We'll see. I think we may end up having that because obviously we're in the new year, and it would be a case where like to not have any of the info from last year would be kind of silly. So
all right.
I don't know if we're going to have a last year or an all-time, just based on the, the information there. Because like as of right now, it'd be more efficient for us to just have an all-time than us to have like a last year. But we're planning on having like 6 or 10 different options when it's fully fleshed out. And, once this is kind of like year 1 is in the books 100%, so we're rolling into like Jan 1, 2025. We'll have everything set up to like fully be able to, adjust the charts as you guys see fit and really kind of have fun with it and see what's kind of all going on. And just kind of how well the bot has done so far. So yeah, but early on we're gonna only have like 3 or 4 options. But yeah, we're gonna take and feed that ad based on what makes sense and what people are looking for. So don't think this is gonna be something where it's like, yeah, we're gonna do this and then just never update it again. We've already kind of got a few of those where we we basically had an entire meeting where we had to decide what we were going to limit it to at the beginning here, because I was like, yeah, we have like 16 options that we could throw in here, but let's not do that day one. Let's get some basic info out there for people to see so we can get this out the door. Everybody will be happy with it, and then cool. We can add on stuff as we need to as time goes on. So
very cool.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be those 4 is what we're looking at.
Very cool.
Don't hold me to it; it may change.
Okay. All right. I also have Calais back testing with AI trading.
Yep. Yeah. Again, not sure when that'll be implemented, but it is something where we've brought it up before. Okay. It is something where, we've talked about that this will have AI integrated into it so it can, make better trades and make better decisions, where we won't actually have to do a lot of micromanagement. That's still in testing and probably a ways out.
Okay.
But yes, we've had some fun stuff with that we've been doing.
Yeah. All right. And then you guys are doing a combination of manual trading and bot trading right now.
Yes. The best way that I can kind of word that is that all we're doing is, the bot is doing a vast majority of the setup, and we're tweaking it just slightly to make sure that we're not hitting supports or resistances or being on the wrong side of a support or resistance. So that's the best way that I can kind of put that out there.
Is it?
Otherwise, it'd be a case where it's just, hey, it seems like we're doing a ton of manual trades. It's not the case. The bot is basically coming through and saying, hey, we think it should be here. And we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, well, the resistance level is at, the example I used earlier was the bot says, okay, well, this position that we want to do a dollar cost average is 24.10. And we look at it and we see, okay, well, there's a huge resistance level at 24.05. Let's just set it to 2400. And that's where the dollar cost average is short there. So we can leverage out of a lower short and be in a higher short at that point. That's kind of the best way to look at it.
Why do you guys need to like help the bot every now and then? Like
because it won't do it on its own right now because we don't have the AI integration into it yet.
I got you. Like
it looks at things based on an algorithm in terms of like, if I get in at this point, it will raise my cost basis by X amount. It doesn't look at it and say, okay, it needs to get in at this point, which will raise my cost basis of this amount, but there's a resistance level at this point, so I need to place this right underneath it, which will raise the cost basis by Y amount instead. It just looks at it and says, cool, in order to raise my cost basis or like the base cost of the given specific trade that we're in, I need to be at this position. And that's where we say, okay, well, instead of having the cost basis be raised by $30, we're willing for the cost basis to only be raised by $25 to set it $10 lower to make sure we're on the opposite side of a resistance or support. And that's the best way to kind of look at it is, as of right now, it's not able to do that on its own. And we didn't realize how punishing that could be until we missed that one trade by $3 because the liquidity on Bybit was higher than other exchanges. And it didn't chew through and get down to where we needed it to be in order to offload our position. It missed it by $3. And that's the reason why we're still in this trade. So that's one of the things where, with the AI learning that we've been doing on the back end side, mixed in with a couple of the manual changes, the AI should be able to do that going forward, notice the support and resistance levels and say, okay, instead of taking a 5% gain, we're going to take a 3% gain, but it gets us out of the position so we can open up a new one. And that's the goal here, is to never be caught in, a long-standing trade like this again. And while we do have things that are in place that allow us to get out of this, it's still not fun to be in. It's a lot of additional micromanagement. It's a lot of additional processes that we have to kind of do on our side, and we're trying to avoid that as much as we can, just in general. So that's why we're, having to kind of adjust some of those, because the current iteration of the bot doesn't take any of that into account. It basically just says, okay, in order to open up this, I need to do it at this price. But if that price is effectively not able to be reached, due to, again, some resistance or support level, it doesn't do us any good. So that's why we've had to kind of adjust some of these.
Okay. All right. All right. And then you guys are still working on entirely closing out that short with the hedged position that you guys took?
Correct. Yeah. So as the price is kind of moving up and down, the volatility allows us to move out of those positions without really any kind of issue. And that was kind of the whole point of us opening up the hedge here, is it allows us, one, to be safe and secure if the price continued to just go one direction without any kind of pullback. But two, being in the hedge position allows us to take some loss on some of the shorts, but profit on some of the longs as well, to fully allow us to get out of that short position in a better, state than where we were at before. So, yeah,
all right.
It's definitely been something where it's been a learning process. It's something that we've made a couple of changes based on some of the factors for this year. But we also hadn't ran into anything like this before. even with our back testing, we've had, pullbacks in those positions where our bot was able to get out of it. We haven't ran into that in this. We talk about a black swan event. This isn't really a black swan event. This is more of a, hey, this was something where we did not expect, the price over like a 2-month period to just keep going up and to the right. And we've made some adjustments based on that. So, yeah, all things that we kind of had to take into account. This is also part of the reason why we didn't just throw all the funds in there and just walk away and say, like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. We continue to monitor and, make adjustments and changes based on that.
Right.
It's also why we moved to the V2 bot, because our V1 bot could not open up hedge positions. And we specifically wanted to add this function in case something went wrong, like this. And it's not really going wrong. The bot did exactly what it was supposed to do. And it was us that were supposed to do exactly what we did, which is open up the hedge position to make sure that we don't end up in something that we weren't able to get out of. And everything lined up exactly exactly the way that we, predicted in terms of worst case scenario. I guess if you want to word it like that, where the bots just ended up missing the take profit. And with that being the case, we ended up opening the hedge position a little bit later down the road, and that's allowed us to start to move out of the short at this point. So This is 100% the reason why we overhauled the bot the way that we did, is because V1 of the bot couldn't do this, which means that if we're, running into a position where something, happened very similar to this on the, the long or the short side, we'd be, safe and secure. So was very much so a change that we needed to make. And this is exactly case in point as to why we did it. We didn't think it would happen so quickly after the launch of the V2 bot. But this is why we made those changes. This is why we spent that month totally overhauling the bot and not placing any trades, to ensure that safety and security was the utmost important thing for us. And it literally paid off way sooner than any of us would have predicted. Like, the V2 bot overhaul was literally designed for something like the situation that we were in to happen.
Well,
and while we hoped it would never happen, it literally did the month after we opened up the V2 bot. Like, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better instance of that happening.
No.
It's exactly why we made the change. And then sure enough, like a month after we've done so and completed everything and the bot was trading, we walk right into it. Who could have?
Nice. All right. What was I going to ask? So just making bullet points here. So just to reiterate, what's the schedule for adding funds to the NFT side?
I mean, the funds are basically all in there. I kind of brought up before, normally the bot trades roughly in about 1% to 10% of the funds, give or take just a little bit.
I got you.
In this instance, trading a little bit more than that because we've got both the short and the long position. So it's a little bit higher than what it would normally be at that given point in time. But again, this isn't something where we're ever going to have the full amount of the bot trading at any one time. We'd actually be in a very, very, very risky position if we ever got to the point where we had like the full amount, trading. That would not be good for us.
Right. I mean, as far as the 400 BNB, how much of that is currently like being used for by the bot? Like how many of those funds are available to be used? Because I know you're not ever using 100% of the funds that are.
All of it. It's in there.
Okay.
It's so we're not at the point where we need to move any other additional funds over. We're the bot has basically got all the funds that it's going to have added to it for the most part. It's set up between Ethereum position that it's in right now. There's some that's in USDT. and I believe we've moved out of the BNB and into Bitcoin.
Okay.
Just to kind of sit on that. Again, I'll have to confirm that with Callie just to kind of see where we're at there. But yeah, it's effectively all in the account. It's like I said, it's not all going to be traded at the same time. But
Right.
yeah, it's effectively all in there. And the reason why we aren't considering, the percentage towards the full amount of, like the 85K that was in there is, when this trade was open, it wasn't at 80K. We moved the rest into that account to just kind of sit in there, and be available whenever we were out of this trade, so it could start trading at those proper percentages and things like that it would. But yeah, it's all in the account. There's
So
nothing else that we need to effectively wait on, so to speak.
cool. Cool. So will January's percent, whatever the percent profit turns out to be, will that be based on the full amount on
No,
all the
it'll be
funds?
based on the amount that's currently being traded. So like the 17K.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. So
Yeah. Yeah. So effectively, even though the full amount is in the account, the trade that we're in right now was only effectively out of the 17K. So at this point, it needs to be just, slowly gotten out of this position. Once we're in there, the percentages will remain the same from Ray to the NFT, barring, like a couple of entry points here or there. But once this trade is effectively closed, that's where the dollar amount difference will come into play. So, like, let's say, the Ray side of it opens up 1%. Well, that's, $170, and the NFT side 1% would be like $800. So it's still like trading 1% of the total value, but it's going to be trading a different dollar amount once we're out of this trade. But for now, while we're still in this trade, the total amount that was actively associated with the trade is still the 17K.
so once you guys are fully out of the short and the hedge position, that's when you guys will.
That's when the percentage will update. Yep.
Okay, I gotcha. And you see that taking what, like another month, or how long do you see that taking?
Unfortunately, it'll take as long as it takes.
Right.
I'm hopeful that it'll be a situation where we'll be able to get out of it. Oh my goodness. Here in early January. I was going to say early January. Here in early January is my hope on this side.
Cool.
Like I said, I got to talk to Callie about it and see where the numbers kind of fall
Okay.
on that side,
All
and
right.
just kind of got to link up with him and get that information. But I'll make sure that you've got it on the 110
And
side, so that way we can get it out to everybody else.
and this
As
is
part of that announcement.
okay. And if everyone is like me, this is what they're thinking. Once the percentage changes, um, once it changes over to counting like all 80K, do you see the bot continuing to make the same percentage profit as if it only had 17K?
Yes. Yeah,
Cool.
we're not high enough where we have to worry about moving the market. Like not
Yeah.
even close.
Right.
Like
Gotcha.
if memory serves, one of the streamers that I watched on Twitch just for the fun of it, um, guy pulled in, I think it was like just shy of 1 million. Like in profit. Not even what he was trading. Just pulled in 1 million in profit with
Jeez.
like almost no leverage. So it was a case where it's like we're not even close to like big dogs here.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're little fish in big sea still currently.
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, the best way to kind of look at it is we are trading, a percentage of the 17K. When that trade finishes out, we will be trading effectively the same percentage of the 80K. So like I was talking about, where it'll trade normally on average anywhere from like 1 to 10%, is usually that range that most of our trades fall into. Um, even with this closing out, The 17K is now, if memory serves, it's just shy of about 19.5 is technically,
Right.
what it has with like profit and everything in there so far.
Right.
Um, and that's kind of what we're basing the percentage off in terms of return so far. But once this trade fully closes out, the Ray will continue to trade with the amount of funds that it's got. And on the the NFT side, the dollar amount for it'll just go up per trade, but it's still trading the same percentage. So it doesn't look at it and say, okay, on the 80K, since the Ray bot is trading $170, we're going to trade $170. It says, no, the Ray bot is trading 1%. The NFT bot is also trading 1%. So it's going to have that difference in
Cool.
dollar amount in terms of return, but the
Cool.
percentage should effectively still remain the same or pretty close. Like we're talking slight differences in percentage. Like
Gotcha. Yeah,
we're
because
like 8.21 versus 8.20 kind of thing.
right, because one is trading before the other one, like they're following each other. So yeah, it's gonna be a little different.
Effectively, yeah. Yeah. And by following each other, it may be a situation where it's like, both trades are set up at the same time, but one bot gets lucky and gets in before the other bot does.
Gotcha.
And that could go either way. Like, we're talking, I think one of the take profits at one point in time as like an example of this, for like the Ethereum side, I'll just throw it out there. It was like 1801.35, and the other account that was trading was like 1802. So it was
Right.
like 65-cent difference,
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean it's not going to be like, oh, one needs a take profit of like 1857 and the other one needs a take profit of like 1823. It's like it'll never be like that.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Um. Well, we've been talking for almost an hour now. Does anybody in the audience have any questions? Otherwise, if I can come up with any questions in the next minute or so. But I've got some. I
Also, I
got.
just want to apologize if I sound like I'm yelling the entire time. My throat is like ravaged right now. So,
No,
yeah.
you. No,
Sorry,
you.
everybody, if I seem like.
I could tell that you were coming off of something, but no, you sounded good. It's been good. So appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, even with a sore throat.
Yeah, well, good news. Cough has pretty much gone away, but my throat is basically like, all right, well, pain and agony to you. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much just to kind of again re-go over the numbers for anybody that jumped in a little bit late. The bot in the past 2 weeks basically did about $465. So we're just shy, of about 2,500 since this trade is open. That brings our total take profit, to about 2,465 so far, which is about a 14.5% return, roughly. I mean,
Cool.
again, it's not exactly, to the number we've rounded. It was like I think it was 2465.13 or something like that. So
Right.
just round it down like 13 cents or whatever. So
Right.
yep.
All right. Um, just finishing writing up some notes. So I'll put the bullet points in Discord. Um, so thank you very much, Moongod. As always, this was very informative and very interesting too. Hopefully, Callie can figure out that AI stuff real soon and start implementing it in some way because that'd be really cool. But otherwise,
Yeah.
sounds like everything is going swimmingly, as they say.
So I'll just add this to the AI side of it. That'll have to be tested on its
Sure.
own. Like we'll have to throw like a small amount of funds into testing that out before we roll that out into full usage.
Of course.
But yeah, once we feel pretty confident with that, we'll get it in there. And again, hopefully it should alleviate a lot of the extra stress and the manual adjustments we've had to make to some of the dollar cost average and take profits. So thumbs
Yeah,
up.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Less
pretty.
work for you guys. That's always good. All right. Well,
All right. Catch you
I
later.
think I think we're all done here. So thank you guys for being here, and we will see you in the Discord.